Gavin Newsom, California's governor, has long projected an image of confidence and progressive idealism, championing his state as a beacon of innovation and opportunity. He frequently speaks with enthusiasm about California's potential, describing himself as very bullish on its future. Yet beneath this polished exterior, a growing wave of criticism paints a starkly different picture, one of a state grappling with economic decline, social unrest, and a leadership style that many now see as inconsistent and performative. Newsom's tenure, once celebrated as a model for progressive governance, is increasingly viewed as a cautionary tale of overreach, mismanagement, and political opportunism. As his policies and decisions come under scrutiny, the governor faces mounting pressure from both critics and former allies, with some questioning whether his ambitions for national leadership can withstand the fallout of his record in California. The challenges facing California are undeniable. Businesses, both large and small, are fleeing the state in droves. Major corporations like Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Charles Schwab, and CBRE have relocated their headquarters to states with more favorable business climates, such as Texas, Florida, and Arizona. These departures are not isolated incidents, but part of a broader trend driven by California's high taxes, complex regulatory environment, and rising operational costs. Small and mid-sized businesses, unable to absorb these burdens, have either shut down or followed suit, leaving behind a state that was once synonymous with economic opportunity. Newsom's assertion that businesses stay because it's too expensive to leave rings hollow for many who see it as an admission of failure rather than a defense of his policies. The cost of permits, compliance, and navigating bureaucratic red tape has created an environment where innovation is stifled and success is penalized. For every company that remains, the decision often stems from logistical constraints rather than loyalty to California's economic promise. The state's sanitation crisis has further fueled public frustration. Cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Oakland have become emblematic of urban decay, with littered streets, homeless encampments, and public health concerns becoming disturbingly commonplace. In San Francisco, neighborhoods are plagued by human waste, used needles, and uncollected trash, creating an environment that feels neglected and unsafe. Los Angeles faces similar issues, with homeless encampments overtaking public spaces and turning basic sanitation into a serious concern. These problems are not new, yet Newsom's response has been criticized as inadequate and reactive. When Chinese President Xi Jinping visited San Francisco, Newsom oversaw a rapid cleanup of the city's streets, only for conditions to revert to their previous state shortly after. His own admission that the cleanup was motivated by the presence of fancy leaders underscored a troubling reality. The governor is capable of addressing these issues when the spotlight demands it, but sustained action remains elusive. This pattern of temporary fixes and media-friendly gestures has left Californians questioning whether Newsom prioritizes appearances over substantive change. Crime and public safety have also emerged as flashpoints. Newsom's initial reluctance to take responsibility for rising lawlessness drew sharp criticism, particularly after he publicly challenged federal authorities, including former ICE Director Tom Homan, to come and arrest him. His defiant stance, marked by a tough guy attitude, stood in stark contrast to the chaos unfolding in California's cities. Riots, looting, and vandalism have tested public patience, with over 220 arrests reported in connection to recent unrest. Newsom's eventual apology, delivered with visible emotion, marked a dramatic reversal from his earlier bravado. "If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account," he declared, promising accountability after months of dismissing the crisis as exaggerated. Critics, however, see this as too little too late, a desperate attempt to salvage his image rather than a genuine commitment to addressing the root causes of California's turmoil. One of the most controversial issues under Newsom's leadership has been his handling of parental rights, particularly regarding a state law that allows teachers to withhold information from parents if a student chooses to transition their gender identity. This policy, passed under Newsom's watch, has sparked intense debate, with critics arguing it undermines the fundamental role of parents in their children's lives. Even progressive commentators like Bill Maher have called out the law, questioning its logic and accusing Newsom of prioritizing ideology over common sense. Maher's critique, aired on his show, highlighted the absurdity of labeling parental notification as snitching, arguing that teachers should focus on education rather than policing students' personal decisions. The backlash from this policy has resonated beyond California, with figures like Donald Trump challenging it at the federal level. Newsom's defense of the law, coupled with his refusal to cooperate with federal oversight, has only deepened the perception that he is out of touch with the concerns of everyday families. This controversy has not only alienated conservative critics, but also strained Newsom's relationship with his progressive base. Once hailed as a potential presidential contender, Newsom now faces skepticism from within his own camp. During an appearance on KBLA, a progressive African-American-owned radio station, host Tavis Smiley expressed doubts about Newsom's electability on a national stage. Smiley argued that Newsom's progressive policies, while popular in California, would struggle to resonate in southern or red states. Newsom's response, that he disagreed with the assessment, did little to quell concerns that his brand of liberalism is too extreme for a broader electorate. Even within California, some progressive allies have grown quiet, wary of his increasingly ideological approach. The governor's rapid shift from bold defiance to tearful apologies has left supporters and critics alike questioning his authenticity and leadership. The media, too, has played a role in amplifying Newsom's challenges. Outlets that once celebrated his charisma and progressive vision have begun to scrutinize his record more closely. Conservative commentators like Greg Gutfeld have relentlessly criticized Newsom, accusing him of ignoring California's problems while chasing national ambitions. Gutfeld's nightly segments have highlighted the state's homelessness crisis, rising crime, and economic struggles, framing Newsom as a governor more concerned with optics than results. Even liberal-leaning figures like Joe Rogan have joined the chorus, describing Newsom as a con man and a cardboard cutout of a leader. Rogan's critique, delivered on his podcast, painted Newsom as a politician driven by narrative rather than principle, contrasting him with figures like Trump and RFK Jr., whom he described as authentic, regardless of their policies. This growing distrust, spanning ideological lines, has eroded the carefully crafted image that once positioned Newsom as a rising star in Democratic politics. The wildfires that have ravaged California in recent years have further exposed Newsom's leadership shortcomings. The destruction of multi-million-dollar homes, including that of actor Mel Gibson in the Palisades, underscored the state's lack of preparedness and inadequate response to recurring natural disasters. Families who lost everything received little more than platitudes from Newsom, while land speculators reportedly moved in to assess scorched properties, raising concerns about exploitation. The absence of a robust emergency plan and Newsom's failure to address water shortages have compounded the frustration, leaving Californians feeling abandoned by their governor. These crises, coupled with his perceived inaction, have fueled calls for Newsom's removal, with residents across party lines expressing anger over his inability to deliver meaningful solutions. Newsom's handling of homelessness has also drawn significant ire. For years, he downplayed the crisis, dismissing criticism as partisan exaggeration. Yet, as public pressure mounted, he recently declared homeless encampments unacceptable and urged cities to ban them from public spaces. This abrupt shift, coming after years of inaction, has been met with skepticism. Critics like Gutfeld have mocked the timing, likening it to putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. The governor's newfound urgency, coinciding with speculation about a presidential run, has only deepened suspicions that his actions are driven by political expediency rather than genuine concern. Rushed cleanup efforts and press events, while generating headlines, have done little to address the systemic issues driving California's homelessness epidemic. Economically, California is at a crossroads. The state's once thriving economy, fueled by Silicon Valley and Hollywood, is now struggling under the weight of Newsom's policies. High taxes and regulations have driven businesses away, while the cost of living has made it difficult for residents to stay. Newsom's claim that people remain in California because it's too expensive to leave ignores the reality that many are leaving anyway, seeking opportunities in states with lower costs and fewer barriers. The exodus of businesses and residents has led to a shrinking tax base, raising concerns about the state's long-term fiscal health. Newsom's critics argue that his focus on progressive ideals, such as environmental regulations and social justice initiatives, has come at the expense of practical governance, leaving California ill-equipped to address its mounting challenges. Public sentiment toward Newsom has shifted dramatically. Once seen as the golden boy of California politics, he is now viewed by many as a symbol of disconnect and hypocrisy. His ability to pivot from defiance to contrition, while politically savvy, has eroded trust among voters who crave consistency and accountability. The media frenzy surrounding his apology, coupled with critiques from high-profile figures like Maher, and Gutfeld, has amplified the perception that Newsom is more concerned with his image than with governing effectively. Even his supporters are beginning to waver, with some questioning whether his leadership style, marked by bold promises and limited follow-through, can sustain the state's needs.